Shocking truth. You're the only one who can deal with this insane challenge at midnight. The moon hung high, casting its silvery light like a spotlight on the sleepy town of Oak Ridge. But tonight, something sinister slithered through the shadows, electrifying the air with anticipation. Emily's heart raced as she stepped out onto the cracked pavement, the chill of the night seeping into her bones. She was the first one, but she wouldn't be the last. Strange whispers had echoed through the school hallways all week. They spoke of dares that could change everything, of secrets buried deep within the town's forgotten past. With each step, Emily felt eyes upon her. It was more than just the weight of the chilly air. It was the sensation of being watched, of unseen forces pulling her towards the unknown. She felt a lump in her throat as she glanced towards Wilson Park, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The trees loomed larger than life, their gnarled branches twisting like skeletal fingers, beckoning her closer. Why did they say it had to be midnight? Why this very spot? But the strangest part? One by one, people began to gather. Friends and foes alike, each clad in hoodies and armed with flashlights, drawn by the promise of an inexplicable thrill. Laughter echoed, but it was laced with an undercurrent of tension, a tightening grip around their nervous hearts. As whispers branched off into frantic speculations about the challenge, Emily felt that prickling sensation spreading from her neck all the way down to her spine. Just then, a loud crack pierced the tranquility. Everyone froze, silence falling like a heavy blanket over the group. The rustle of leaves became a symphony of dread, as if the night itself was holding its breath. Someone gasped, fingers pointing toward the old stone fountain at the park center. A shadow flitted by, too fast to see, but real enough to send a shiver racing through Emily's veins. Was that just her imagination? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the wind howled, a familiar voice spoke up over the hushed murmurs. They say if you're brave enough, you'll see it. The thing that haunts this park. The bravado in their tone clashed sharply with the fear rippling through the crowd. Then, without warning, the ground trembled slightly beneath them. Gasps erupted, eyes darting, bodies jerking back. Some stood frozen, arms crossed tightly, while others clutched their friends, seeking comfort in the chaos. What was happening? Emily's mind raced. What if they really were about to face something unimaginable? Something that punctured the veil between reality and nightmare? The air was charged, electric with secrets, and as the clock struck midnight, a chilling silence descended, leaving only the sound of her racing heart. Would any of them have the guts to confront what lay ahead? Or was it just the beginning of the end? The stillness was palpable, a taut string waiting to snap. Emily held her breath, sensing the tension rise like hot air, coiling around them. Shadows danced in the moonlight, growing more pronounced, creeping toward the group from the edges of the park like a predator nearing its prey. The air thickened with an unshakable feeling, like an unseen hand clasping around her throat, squeezing tighter. Just as the silence became unbearable, the old fountain erupted with a force, sending water spiraling into the air. It sparkled under the moonlight, but there was something wrong, something wicked. The water didn't fall back into the basin. Instead, it froze midair, hanging like a crystal curtain, suspended in time. Gasps and shrieks erupted, voices mingling in a cacophony of fear. Then came a slow turning, a shifting of the crowd as the whispers grew urgent. "Did you see that?" someone shouted, wide-eyed and trembling. Emily blinked hard, her rational mind fighting against the dark energy swarming in the park. This wasn't a trick. The fountain wasn't just a simple structure, it was a gateway, the story seeping from it like a ghost escaping its grave. With each pulse of her heart, She felt the magnetic pull toward that glimmering cascade, each drop suspended, filled with secrets. "Someone do something," another voice called, laced with panic, as a few brave souls edged closer to the fountain. But then, from the shadows, emerged a figure, tall and shrouded in darkness, cloaked in an air of authority and menace. Emily's heart skipped. The figure didn't have a flashlight or other means of illumination, yet it glowed, a faint, ethereal light pouring from its form. "Welcome to the challenge," it spoke, voice like gravel, resonating through the air, taking root in their bones. The crowd fell into a murmur, everyone exchanging glances, filled with a mix of dread and intrigue. Only the courageous will face their fears tonight. The presence reached toward the fountain, fingertips grazing the surface of the shimmering water, and the droplets exploded outward. It felt like the air was charged with electric energy, like lightning had struck right in the center of the crowd, a tempest of brightness that left them momentarily blinded. As vision returned, Emily suddenly felt different. A whisper brushed through her mind, echoing the figure's words, "Face your fear, or be consumed by it." The crowd began to disperse, some stumbling backward, some stepping bravely forward, fearless, unaware of the collective decision forming around them. It was dividing them, casting quick judgments that echoed the sentiments brewing within each heart. Emily felt the magnetism of their thoughts wash over her, drawing her closer to that dark figure. "What's your deepest fear?" A voice cut through the chaos, forcing Emily to confront the question. Her heart thudded in her chest as images flickered unbidden through her mind, the dark alley she avoided, the looming shadow of loss lurking just beyond the light. Fear flooded through her veins. "Step forward if you dare." The figure beckoned, and Emily caught snippets from others, fears of failure, rejection, solitude. As the last echo of the invitation faded, a chilling realization crept up her spine. She wasn't just facing the challenge alone. Reality twisted, and she understood each person here, including her, was about to experience their own deep-seated horrors. Then, as the first brave soul took a step forward, the air crackled again, a sickly sweet scent of danger wafting through the park, and the world tilted precariously. Would they be strong enough to confront their worst nightmares? Emily clenched her fists, her heart thundering, a maelstrom of hope wrestling against raw fear. She had to know the truth, to confront whatever the fountain unleashed. And the crowd, she realized, their fates were tied to hers. Just as she took her first step, the ground trembled violently. She heard the collective gasp behind her and felt something shift in the air. A terrible truth was about to be revealed. What would emerge from the fountain? Who would survive the night? The answer loomed, just beyond the edge of the darkness. The moment Emily took a breath, the world shifted. The ground surged beneath her feet, and a low rumble echoed in the dark, vibrating through her bones. Panic filtered through the crowd. Faces contorted in fear flashed around her, each reflecting their own doubts and trepidations. "Stay with me," someone shouted, but the voice was swallowed by the growing chaos. Emily looked back at the fountain, where the water still hung like gossamer threads. The figure stood resolute, immovable, as it emanated an eerie glow that made the shadows dance around it. In that moment, something strange happened. The suspended droplets seemed to pulse, lighting up with a vivid hue, shifting like colors in a kaleidoscope, hinting at the fears within each person watching. With every beat of her heart, Emily felt herself drawn to the swirling mass. It was intoxicating, overwhelming. She saw pale faces sweat, bodies tremble, and in between it all, reflections of their greatest fears, each drop revealing a memory that shouldn't be unearthed. The living nightmares that lay hidden beneath the surface surged forward, clawing at the backs of their minds. "Emily," she heard a whisper, familiar but distant. It was her mother's voice, a sound she had long ago silenced. A trembling hand reached for her, and Emily nearly stepped back, but then she remembered the challenge. Face your fears or be consumed. The ground shook again, more violently this time, sending everyone sprawling. Cries filled the air, a violent chorus of terror. One person fell toward the fountain, their foot connecting with the basin's edge, and suddenly, it sent out a shockwave. The water shifted, and with a jarring crack, it shattered into thousands of glass-like fragments. Emily gasped, the vision surreal. The shards hung before her, suspended in air, carving through the darkness, like sharp stars frozen in combat. Time seemed to pause. In that fleeting moment, she locked eyes with the figure, now more luminous than before. "Face it," the figure commanded, its voice booming, charged with a force that echoed in her mind. "All of you. Each fragment holds a truth, a fear you've buried. No turning back, only the brave shall thrive." On instinct, she stepped forward, her heart racing. The shards danced around her, drawing nearer as if alive, calling her name. Within each piece, she saw images, screams, tears, long-lost opportunities. The repressed memories that she scarcely dared to acknowledge flooded her consciousness, but even in the chaos, something primal awakened inside her. She let the memories wash over her, each one tugging at her heart. She remembered her father's disappointed gaze, the friend she had failed to save in the past, and the lonely nights haunted by echoes of what could have been. Fear threatened to pull her under. Yet she fought back, rallying against the tide. "I will not be conquered," she shouted, and the sound caught in her throat, firm and defiant. The others began to move as well. One brave soul lunged towards a bright shard, piercing the night, a silent proclamation of their willingness to confront their own darkness. And as they did, the bitter tendrils of fear wrapped around Emily's heart began to loosen. "Join us," they yelled. "We must face it together." But the ground trembled once more ominously this time, and the air thickened with an electrifying tension. The water's remnants shimmered dangerously as one final image emerged, the sun rising above the horizon, followed by shadows that rapidly closed in like a trap. "Not everyone will make it through," the figure growled, its eyes glinting like daggers in the dark. Emily's heart pounded harder, and a question seeped into her thoughts like a slow poison. Would they be strong enough to stand against the darkness, or would they descend into their own nightmares unscathed, leaving a witching hour of doom in their wake? What had they awakened? What horrors lay in wait? It was time to find out. Emily gathered herself, summoning all her courage as she stepped toward the swirling shards. The choice, it seemed, was now undeniably hers. Would she take that leap into the unknown, or would she watch as the shadows enveloped them all? The time to act was slipping away, and the darkness was closer than ever. The shards shimmered around Emily, their reflections distorting her fears into a haunting whirlpool of memories. She felt her throat tighten, every breath like fire. The air buzzed with the combined energy of those around her, vibrating with hope and dread. "Emily! Together!" someone yelled, drowning her in urgency. She glanced back at the crowd, faces both familiar and strange, each grappling with their own terrors. They were fighting something far deeper than the fear of the unknown. They were about to confront their pasts. The figure by the fountain shifted, the unsettling glow flickering as if feeding off the collective anxiety. "What holds you in chains will bind you for life if you let it," it boomed, its voice echoing like a thunderclap. Suddenly, the ground lurched beneath her. Emily stumbled but steadied herself. She couldn't falter. Desperation clawed through her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that some lives depended on their bravery. She needed to choose. Reach for it. A young man surged forward, his hand grasping one of the floating shards. Time fragmented as a bright flash illuminated the chaos. The moment his fingers touched the shard, the air exploded with a wave of light. It enveloped him, and for a heartbeat, he stood frozen, a statue of bravery against relentless shadows. Then it shattered. In an instant, he was gone, replaced by an unbearable silence. Gasping, the crowd blinked back tears. Emily's heart raced and twisted like a vice. If they couldn't face this together, one by one, they'd be consumed. "Don't let fear take you. Fight back," she shouted, each word infused with raw determination. Suddenly, She felt their energy focus on her, an unspoken promise that they wouldn't turn back. With a final breath, she reached for a shard glowing emerald green, pulsating like a heartbeat, as if inviting her to dive deeper into her own pain. The moment her fingers brushed its smooth surface, a flood of visions crashed into her. Images of her darkest moments surged like an angry tide, the haunting loneliness when her mother vanished, the night she lost her best friend in an accident because she didn't have the courage to speak up. Each memory clawed at her, threatening to drown her in sorrow. Emily felt the shadows creeping in, their icy tendrils grazing her shoulders. She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting the urge to flee. "I will own this," she declared, voice trembling but loud enough for the others to hear. The energy shifted, an electric wave pulsing through the crowd. Around her, more people began to grasp at their own shards of truth. Each splash of shimmering color launched shockwaves of emotion. The figure at the fountain roared with approval, but darkness still lingered just out of reach. "Stay strong," Emily urged. "We can do this." Her voice reached out like a lifeline, connecting them through the shared agony of repressed fears. One by one, hands began to clasp shards, hearts resolute, faces lit with defiance. But then, hovering just beyond the shattered pieces, shadows began to swirl more violently. Heavy, dark clouds formed, feeding on their doubts as they came together. "You think this will save you?" The figure taunted, an unsettling mirth lacing its tone. "Truth will always come at a cost." An icy gust cut through the night, stirring the air. Emily felt it wrap around her like chains, chilling her to the bone. The others cried out, their voices rising above the howling winds, determination mounting even as they could feel the fear gripping their hearts. That moment, Emily realized that she wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for everyone. They were all intertwined in this struggle against the shadows set to engulf them. What could break their shackles? What truth could possibly liberate them now? The answer throbbed at the back of her mind, elusive yet tantalizing. She couldn't falter, now not when dawn hung in the balance. Emily took another deep breath, harnessing all the courage she could muster, and then the shadows lunged. Would they shatter under the weight of their fears, or rise like the dawn they sought? The question loomed, hanging heavily in the air. Emily braced herself as shadows twisted toward her, pulsing with malevolence. The air became thick, suffocating, each breath an effort in the encroaching darkness. She had to act. Her heart raced, thudding a frantic rhythm against her chest. "Together," she yelled again, her voice tearing through the whispers of despair. "We can't back down." The crowd responded, a wave of determination rising like the tide. Hands reached for shards, fingers brushing against the cool surfaces. Each contact ignited a spark, illuminating their resolve even in the face of terror. But as the shadows lunged, a piercing shriek echoed from the depths, cutting through the tension. A woman in the back collapsed, her scream piercing the firmament as darkness swallowed her whole.
"No!"
Someone cried, panic rippling across the crowd. The wave of fear crashed down, threatening to drag them all under.
"Stay focused,"
Emily shouted, waving her hands as if she could redirect the shadows. She focused on the shard still gripped tightly in her hand. It pulsed, resonating with her heartbeat. "We can't give in." The shimmering shard warmed against her palm, feeding her determination. Memories rushed forward, both painful and empowering. "I could have saved you," she whispered, recalling the moment she hesitated when it mattered most. But it's not too late. In an instant, shards throughout the crowd began glowing brighter, responding to her conviction. The figure by the fountain hesitated, an eyebrow raised in bemusement. "You think that will help?" it mocked. Then, as if to answer its challenge, the crowd erupted with a fierce surge of energy. Shards burst forth in a kaleidoscope of light, painting the night with brilliant hues. Voices, once scattered by fear, came together like thunder. "We are not afraid." The shadows recoiled, but only momentarily. Darkness twisted back, hungering for their fear. Emily fought back a chill as she took a step forward, steady on her feet even as tremors coursed through her. "Remember what we faced," she yelled, her voice cutting like a blade through the thick tension. "What brought us here?" A brilliant flash erupted from their joined forces. The shadows screeched, writhing violently, as if caught between two worlds. Emily felt the surge of emotion around her, each person wrestling with their own ghosts, aligning with hers. They were releasing their burdens: fear, guilt, pain. "Let it go," Emily screamed. Each word was laced with urgency. "Face it, don't look away." In that moment, the air crackled with energy. Waves of bright light lashed out, pushing against the encroaching darkness. The figure by the fountain stumbled, its form wavered, and for the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed its face.
"No,"
it howled, a tortured mask of rage and desperation. But the crowd didn't relent. With each layer of fear they peeled back, more light spilled forth. Emily's chest burned with the intensity of the collective courage swirling around them. But just then, the ground beneath them cracked. A chasm opened, and with it a low, guttural sound reverberated through the air, an awakening of something ancient and terrifying. Carnivorous shadows welled from the depths, their snarls chilling Emily to the core. Hard in her throat, Emily knew the depths they faced were far greater than mere fears. This was an abyss that could swallow their very souls whole. "We can't stop now," she shouted, her voice unwavering. The shadows advanced again, this time more relentless, angrier. Only a fraction of their strength had plummeted into the void below. Was this the moment they'd been led to attest to unravel their deepest truths? As Emily prepared to make one final stand, a flicker of recognition rose within her. It was the truth she had sought, echoing in her soul something she had buried for so long. What revelation awaited her? Would it be salvation, or something darker still? The answer skated just beyond her fingertips, and she realized the cost of freedom may be a greater price than anyone could afford in the eye of chaos. She steeled herself. The moment was upon them. What would it unveil? It felt like the end, and yet perhaps it was just the beginning. Emily felt the shuddering of the ground beneath her feet, a cold breeze swirling around her, pushing back against her every thought. The shadows swirled closer, their black tendrils reaching out as if to taste her fear. Panic flickered through the crowd, but she forged ahead, urging them to hold onto their bravery. The shard in her hand pulsed, coursing warmth through her arm as she lifted it high, determined to show everyone it was possible to spark hope even in the thickest darkness. "We can face this. We have each other," she shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony. As the shadows leaped, roar after roar threatening to consume them, she felt as if the strength of everyone around her coalesced into a solid wall of resolve. But cracks were forming beneath them, a gaping chasm expanding, threatening to swallow their unity whole. There was an edge of desperation creeping into the voices of those close by. "Emily, what do we do?" a man asked, his face a mask of terror. "Fight," she yelled back, the word bursting forth with urgency. "Remember what you've lost. Use that pain. Use that light." A woman's scream pierced through, but it was different this time, an expression of defiance, not fear. Emily glanced over to see the woman standing strong with a glowing shard raised high, eyes igniting with fury. The sight lit a spark within Emily, intensifying the bond forming between them. They weren't just fighting the shadows. They were confronting their past. The figure by the fountain hesitated, its mocking smirk crumbling under the force of the collective will. "You think your light can hold back the darkness?" Its voice dripped with disdain, but a tremor flickered in its tone. "Yes," Emily responded, her voice echoing now, emboldened. "It may take all of us, but we're not alone." The shards in their hands flickered in rhythm with their pulses. With each beat, the energy surged stronger, each flickering light representing a story, a life that had fought to matter. As the shadows recoiled, she felt the presence of an ancient force pulsing beneath the new threat, a dark power awakened within the depths of despair. It was a battle for their souls. Emily gritted her teeth, summoning every ounce of emotion, a mixture of anger, grief, and a desperate wish to protect those who remained. Shadows screeched like tortured animals, writhing in pain as the light pressed back. The air vibrated with the merging of voices, heart's life itself. But just as they pushed forward, an agonizing roar erupted from the gaping chasm. The ground trembled, and shadows swelled, swallowing the remaining light. It was a darkness that wanted not just to consume, but to own them. A hollow plea echoed across the crowd. What if it's not enough? Cold fingers of despair snaked up Emily's spine. A thought gnawed at her. What if she couldn't save everyone? Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, a ghostly figure shrouded in darkness. Emily squinted, recognition igniting her heart like fire spreading through dry leaves. No, it can't be, she murmured, breath hitching. There stood someone from her past, a beloved sister lost to the void, face framed by shadows yet illuminated by the same shards they wielded. Help me, her voice echoed, both haunting and hopeful. Emily's heart lurched against her chest. Was this a trick? A cruel game played by the dark? Or a chance for redemption she had long sought? Frozen between relief and dread, she realized this would alter everything. Would her choice define hers and her sister's bond? The shadows at her feet looked ravenous, ready to consume whatever she decided.
No,
she shouted into the void. I'm not afraid. Just as she reached for the warmth in her heart, darkness surged around her, laughter echoing as it wrapped tightly around her, an echoing pit of uncertainty and choice. What destiny would she carve from the chaos? And would the revelation of her past prove to be the key to their survival, or the beginning of an immeasurable peril? The moment hung heavy in the air, electrified with possibility. Would the darkness claim her, or could she bend it to her will? In that swirling tempest, she knew the heart of the fight had yet to be unveiled. What would it demand of her next? Emily felt the chill of the shadow's presence dense around her. The laughter, it was a low, sinister echo that curled around her throat like a vice. Help me, her sister's voice swept through her, haunting yet somehow tender, tugging at the most vulnerable parts of her spirit. Is this real? Emily demanded, her voice trembling as she stepped closer, shards in hand glowing brightly in defiance. Is this really you? Yes, it's me. The figure reached out, shadows quivering as if debating whether to engulf her or let her through. You need to trust me. I'm trapped like the others. Emily's heart pounded in her chest, wild and chaotic. Trust? Trust had led her to a chasm of despair before. Was this another lie spun by the dark? But her sister's eyes held desperation that seemed all too tangible. A flicker of regret danced behind those eyes, mirroring Emily's own fears. Just then, the earth beneath them shuddered violently, pitching Emily forward. She staggered, grounding herself as she caught sight of the crowd. Faces were bare with confusion, their resolve wavering. Emily's fleeting moment of doubt morphed into a raging fire of determination. This is it,
she cried.
We have to unite. The shadows lunged forward, ravenous. They twisted around the crowd, seeking to drag them into the swirling void beneath their feet. But Emily's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. More shards ignited around her, illuminating grim faces as she rallied them. Remember your pain, your loss. Use it for strength. Emily raised her shard. It pulsed in time with the frantic beating of her heart, lighting the area like a beacon. One by one, the shards responded. The woman who had defied the darkness earlier followed suit, raising her own shard. The crowd soon erupted into a cacophony of voices, shouting stories of love and loss, lifting the shards higher and higher. Just then, shadows erupted from the earth, creeping toward the flickering lights with desperate intent. Laughter erupted again, sinister and all-consuming, as the figure of Emily's sister began to dissolve into the dark. You're losing this fight, Em.
No.
Emily reached forward, heart racing as time seemed to slow. She could feel the warmth of the shard sinking deeper into her soul. You are not lost. But as she stepped closer, Emily's sister flickered like an old movie reel, shifting in and out of the full-bodied silhouette Emily remembered. It twisted her heart, memories flooding her mind. Laughter during summer nights, whispered secrets. Oh, how they had fought so fiercely to protect each other. Fight, and before it's too late. With that, her image dissipated into a swirl of darkness, but not before leaving Emily with something heavy, a message, a haunting reality. Was the darkness claiming her sister? Or was this a chance for Emily to embrace the pain and transform it into power? The shadows shrieked around her, clawing for their prize. Emily stumbled back, her breath hitching. The crowd was breaking, undone by confusion and fear. Suddenly, overwhelmed by the swirling darkness, a chilling thought struck her. Could she summon enough strength to fight not just for her sister, but for everyone? Could their memories forge a united front against the consuming abyss? Together, she shouted, let us reclaim what's ours. But even as she shouted, lingering doubt couched itself in her heart. What if her willpower failed? What if the shadows overwhelmed them? The darkness swelled, and her shard dimmed just a fraction. Emily felt her heart race again. Is this the end? She whispered to the chaos swirling around her. But deep down, she knew that one truth remained. Echoing loud inside her, only she held the destiny of not just her sister, but everyone in her hands. Was she truly ready to wield that power? As the recessions of shadow approached closer still, Emily's fingers closed tighter around her shard, ready to ignite a greater light. The ultimate decision loomed. Would she transcend this moment, or would the shadows engulf her entirely? With time slipping away, something primal stirred within her. Emily could feel the weight of that choice bearing down. The ground trembled beneath them once more, each quaking pulse syncing with the frantic beat of Emily's heart. Shadows clawed at her, desperate and clawing, shrieking joyful madness at the prospect of consuming them whole. Those faces in the crowd, their once resolute expressions, had turned to sheer panic. Emily's voice cut through the tension, raw and fierce. Focus, she yelled. We can't give in. But doubt was a voracious predator, feeding on their fears. The crowd fell into chaos again, eyes darting, voices turning from strength to confusion. Emily's breath caught at the sight, her throat tightening as she sensed how close to losing it all they were. She raised her shard once more, the light flickering dangerously, but determination ignited within her. She was not alone. Remember who you are. Remember why you're here. Emily cried, urgency boiling in her veins, spilling from her lips with renewed fervor. With each word, warmth spread through her, a quiet roar burning inside her chest. Song-like memories echoed with every outstretched hand, tales of lost ones, cherished moments surfacing in vivid clarity. A woman near the front, her face streaked with tears, stepped forward. I lost my brother, she shouted, sorrow twisting her features. But instead of fading, the sadness glinted as she raised her shard, illuminating the darkness around her. I lost my mother. Another voice joined, fierce and empowered. One by one, they stepped forward, voices overlapping and intertwining, dragging the memories from the depths of despair into the light. With each shard that ignited, the darkness receded slightly, revealing flickers of truth amid swirling chaos. Shadows hissing in retaliation clawed at Emily and her growing band of fighters. You think your pathetic memories can fight us? The laughter twisted around them, vile and shredding. Yet it only fueled their fire. Don't listen, Emily roared. The words surged through the crowd like a current, electric and alive. They want us to forget, to break us. Fight back. Driven by Emily's call, boundaries began to dissolve as they joined hands. Each shard pulsed, weaving through the darkness, illuminating shared pain and hope. Yet still, that nagging thought clung to her. Was it enough? And suddenly, an impossible wave of dark surged back, overwhelming the light and sweeping through their ranks. Voices faltered, shards flickered, and the crowd began to tremble. Emily took a step back, trepidation flooding her. No, she cried, and she felt the surge of energy responding to her fear, a shift in the air, raw and powerful. Instinctively, without thinking, She pressed her palm flat against the shards of light. Converge, she shouted, pushing every ounce of love, grief, and defiance into that singular moment. The shards trembled, surging like the crest of a wave, creating a brilliant dome of light that shielded them momentarily. But then it collapsed. Shards shattered, creating tiny fragments that scattered in every direction, plunging into a void. The darkness laughed, a cruel sound that sliced through their fragile hope.
See?
You're nothing without the weight of despair. Emily felt a lump in her throat. Suddenly, the devastating reality seeped into her bones. How could they possibly break through? Just then, she caught sight of a familiar face in the crowd. It was the woman from earlier. Her eyes shone with intensity, a silent message passing between them. Let us create a chain. The woman yelled, stepping forward, gathering shards as she linked hands with others, encircling the darkness with their connection. It was a spark, tiny yet potent, that flickered to life again. With a heart full of desperation and hope, Emily jumped back into the fray, the torrent of conviction boiling once more. We are stronger together. Let your love guide you. Emily felt energy rush through her, surging into the shards around her. Instantly, the glow surged back to life, a beacon igniting deep within her that rivaled even the darkest void. But with such an influx of power came the sense of something more. Could it be possible she was uniquely tied to this darkness? Standing at the brink, Emily glanced at the flickering edges of their light. With the shadows circling closer, she knew this was once again the moment of choice. Will you let the darkness take us? She shouted, determination lighting her voice. Or will you stand with me to fight for our future? The unity felt electric, pulsating through the air, but terror lurked just beyond their grasp. Would this be enough to see them through to dawn? The shadows swelled, practically consuming all hope. And then Emily felt it, something ready to break loose from within, something deep and primal. Would she be willing to tap into that power? With fear battling resolve, the ultimate decision lay right outside her reach. Would she take the leap? As the void closed in, Emily stood resolute, breath hitching, waiting for the moment to strike. The culmination of all she held dear rested upon her shoulders, and what would be released next? The shadows snarled, their twisted forms dancing on the edges of the light. The air crackled with tension, a palpable energy coursing through Emily's veins, beckoning her to embrace whatever lay dormant within her. Heart pounding, she felt a surge. What if she could bend the darkness? What if she could both challenge it and harness its power?
Now,
she shouted, fueled by the pulse of hope around her. The silhouettes of fear that had ensnared them began to tremble, as if sensing the shift in Emily's resolve. She reached out, fingers stretched toward the darkness, daring to veer away from the light that had been her refuge. The crowded circle seemed to pause, breaths caught as they witnessed their leader confronting the chaos. The woman with tear-streaked cheeks had linked hands with others, forming an unbroken chain of flickering shards that trembled like stars fighting through a stormy night. Don't break that bond, she yelled, her voice sharp and fierce. Emily's heart surged with gratitude. This unity was their strength. Together, let us forge a path. As the darkness clawed at the edges of their fragile sanctuary, Emily pressed her palms together, ready to tap into power she'd never known existed. It was an invitation to the shadows, a plea woven with memories of loss and vigor. Could she capture their essence and turn it against them? Embrace your pain, she guided, her words no longer just her own, but a collective chant, a hurricane of support rising in volume as each voice joined the chorus. It reverberated through the crowd, amplifying their united resolve. The shadows recoiled, manifesting a wave of fury, each grotesque face twisting in outrage at this encroachment. Your anguish cannot save you. Your light is fleeting, they snarled, but Emily felt the pressure shift. They were on the edge of something monumental. The moment had arrived. Let us harness our darkness, she screamed, a fierce declaration echoing through the air. The ground shuddered violently, as if the earth itself was caught in the battle of light and dark. We want to run from it, We will fight alongside it. With a fierce cry, she plunged her hands down, summoning her shard and inviting the darkness to respond. A rumble quaked beneath her feet, the shadows swirling closer as if drawn to her, hungry yet curious. "What are you doing?" A voice cracked through the chaos. It was the woman, her expression torn between fear and admiration. "Trust me," Emily barked back, heart rising, veins thrumming. She plunged deeper, invoking memory's joy, pain, hope intermingled with grief. A vortex of emotion cascaded around her, blooming in terrible beauty as the shards began to merge with the dark. The crowd gasped. Light and darkness twirled and twined, crashing like waves against the shore, creating new patterns, unfamiliar and potent. "Feel it," Emily gasped, battling the weight of fear threatening to clutch her spirit. "We are more than our shadows." As the energies collided, a brilliant explosion filled the air, a burst of light that refracted into 1,000 colors, painting the darkness with hues of hope. Emily found herself standing amidst a cyclone of transformative brilliance, her heart racing. But deep down, a whisper grazed her thoughts. What if this fusion of light and shadow unleashed something uncontrollable? Was she taming the darkness, or awakening a beast she couldn't contain? Before she could wrestle with that notion, a piercing wail erupted around her. The shadows surged violently, more chaotic than before, and she realized the potential consequences of what she had summoned. "It's not over," she shouted, and the crowd rallied once more, hands tightening around each other, gathering the shards of light that still flickered in their grasp. The darkness seemed to shift, a new shape forming. Emily squinted through the swirling chaos, a figure stepping forward, like a ghost reborn from the shadows. "Who are you?" she breathed, uncertainty flooding her. The figure was cloaked in darkness, a mirrored reflection of her own fears and doubts. "You called me here," a rasped voice. Low yet haunting, as it began to speak, time itself seemed to hold its breath. With every word, Emily's heart raced. She was about to uncover the truth, something she had never anticipated. And in that moment, the ground trembled beneath them once more, not with fear, but anticipation. What revelation would break through the veil of shadows? Or was it already too late? The chaos crackled in the air, a tangible charge pulsing between the dark figure and Emily. She felt it building, an electric surge that threatened to snap like a taut wire. All eyes were on them, breaths held in a collective gasp. The shadows hovered, waiting for the moment to strike. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice trembling but resolute. "I am what you buried," the figure whispered, its shape flickering like static. "The pain you refused to confront, the fear festering in your heart." A wall of memories surged through Emily, a torrent of fractured moments that had haunted her and now stood before her tangible. The face of her sister flickered in her mind, a reminder of the sorrow she had lived with, the doubts she'd let take root. Could this figure represent all the unresolved hurt she had carved into her soul? "Face your fear, Emily," the dark figure beckoned, its voice drifting like smoke. "Face the truth that binds you." With every gut-wrenching memory clawing at her, Emily felt the knot in her chest tighten. She gritted her teeth, fighting to push the anguish away. "I won't let you take them," she screamed, defiance blazing in her eyes. But as she shouted, she felt the shadows around her shift. They pressed closer, thoughts and doubts wrapping around her tightly. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was a tide of emotions, the crowd, the connections born from pain and loss. "They need you to remember." The figure's voice rose in volume, commanding attention. "They, too, carry their burdens. You cannot break free from your darkness without acknowledging it exists." Emily breathed heavily, the weight of those words tangling in her mind. They were true. She was not alone in this struggle. And with that realization, the pulse of the crowd surged, a blend of bravery and shared vulnerability moving through them like an anthem. "Together," she shouted, and the chant grew around her, echoing against the backdrop of the night. Suddenly, the shards in their hands began to glow brighter, each one showcasing a glimpse of personal history, heartbreak, regret, hope. A tapestry woven from each individual's life, all coming together. Our light is stronger. Someone called out, a bright spark illuminating their determination. With a sudden rush, they began to raise their shards, fists clenched tight, determination sparking in every eye.
Fight back.
Emily yelled again, as much for herself as those gathered. Let go of the fear. She turned her focus back to the figure, her voice steady. You don't own us. At those words, the figure quivered, shadows writhing restlessly. You cannot conquer the darkness while denying it exists. It spat back, voice dripping disbelief. But Emily felt a quiet strength emerge inside her, a power she didn't realize had always been there, buried under grief. No, you don't have to own us. We can own our pain. With every shard lifted higher, a ripple of energy surged through the crowd. Their memories intertwined, harmonizing in a brilliant wave of light. Emily felt the room around her light up, illuminating the darkness inching ever closer. The shadows screamed in protest, twisting around her, growing frantic. The force emanating from the crowd resonated with unyielding strength. The figure faltered, its glowing form revealing cracks within its dark veneer. Change is upon you, it howled, dissipating with a weighty shout, but fear will never abandon you. In that moment, Emily felt every heart surrounding her, connected by their shared history, the losses and victories woven together against the dark. Fear doesn't define me, she shouted, eyes fierce as she locked onto those shadows encroaching on them, but neither does the pain. The air crackled as the crowd tightened their connection, flourishing with their newfound courage. Every shard linked together, creating a radiant dome of protection around them. The shadows recoiled, swallowed by light, as fear transformed into unyielding strength. Then, with a thunderous crash, the darkness erupted, a storm colliding with their light. But rather than crumble, they flared brighter, drawing strength from every individual memory that flashed before their eyes, each one a testament to their survival. With a deafening roar, the shadows began to flicker and shrink, finally disbanding into nothingness. Emily could feel the relief wash over her, the tumultuous energy returning to calm. She was met with the cries of joy from those around her, each realizing they had survived the night together. As dawn's light broke over Oak Ridge, a warm glow enveloped the park. The dark figure, now a memory fading into the whispers of the shadows, had been conquered not by denying the darkness, but by embracing their pasts. Emily felt a weight lift. Though the night had revealed fractures in their souls, it also illuminated a path forward flanked by those who understood. Friends who were now family, bound by truths too heavy to carry alone. Let us go home, she whispered, turning to her friends as dawn kissed the horizon. Their laughter rang through the park, illuminating the new day, filled with endless possibilities. They had faced the dark, and together, they would carry their memories forward not as a burden, but as a part of themselves striving for the light. As they stepped away from the park, Emily felt a flutter in her heart, a flicker of hope and a promise of healing. And just like that, they were home. Don't forget what's just unfolded. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and spread the love. And don't leave without flooding the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What did you think of Emily's journey? And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. They thank you for it later. Your voice matters, and your support keeps us going.